All right, so in this video, we're going to talk about the main modeling tools in Modo. Okay, and again, look to the PDF. Got all the hotkeys there. Okay, so no big surprise on the top row here. We talked about selections in the last video. You're going to hit W to bring up your move tool, E to rotate, R to scale. T is your element move tool. Okay, so here, let's go ahead and not select anything, T, and then see how it's highlighting components. We can move, it's a tweak mode, okay, and you can move vertices and faces, whatever you're hovering over, okay. Handy to know. Some people like Y, the Y key, because it's going to be, that's your multi-tool. I don't care for it, but anyways, that's that. Now, a quick thing about those tools in Modo. You're going to be, first thing you're going to do is you're going to bring up your move tool, you're going to move stuff, you're going to try to click on something else and wonder why you can't select. Okay, that's because by default, these tools do not have a feature turned on called select through. In Modo, you have to grab a selection, pick up a tool, do what you want with the tool, and drop the tool. Okay, now I hit Q to drop the tool. Spacebar will also drop the tool. Escape will also drop the tool. I like Q. Okay, a lot of people use spacebar. Okay, so if you're like, God, I hate that, that's too many clicks, there's a few ways around it. So make a selection, hold the W key, make your movement, release W, and that'll drop the tool. And you can do that with any tool, whether that be bevel or whatever. Okay, so if you hold the button, if you have a hotkey assigned, and then release the hotkey, it will drop the tool. Okay, that's another way to go. Now, if none of that will do, and you just need to leave your move tool up and be able to select stuff, you can click on this button up here, which is called select through. So once I turn select through on with the move tool active, now I can actually select geometry and move it, and then make another selection and move it. Okay, so you just turn on select through. The reason I don't do this with the move tool and the rotate tool, scale tool, is because in Modo, if select through is off and you have action centers none or automatic, they're essentially the same. Just for animation purposes in item mode, you would need automatic, but they're the same. Okay, so if I have no action center, I can have W open, but since when I click it doesn't do anything, it does move my gizmo. So if I'm like way down doing something, and I'm like over here, and I'm like, dude, I need to see my gizmo. Where's my gizmo at, y'all? That's where my gizmo at, wherever I click in the viewport. Okay. Super handy. Now you can combine this with snapping. So if I turn on snapping, if you hold Alt, it gives you your options. Okay, vertex is I think the default. And now see it's highlighting vertices because I have vertex snapping on. I can turn on edge center as well. That's a good one. Now it's highlighting the center of an edge. So now when I click with a selection active with my move tool active, see my move tool is still active. I haven't dropped the tool. You can relocate your gizmo to a very specific spot and it'll snap there. And now, you can snap to other things. Okay. You can see how awesome this is, all right? So in the moral of the story is I don't turn on select through for my main tools. Now there are some tools where select through is extremely handy. The bridge tool, the mirror tool, we'll talk about that later. And also auto activation, which we'll talk about very shortly. So what I did there was I had snapping going, okay? And I have a hotkey that I assigned to snapping. So let me show you how to bind a hotkey in Modo. This is as good a time as any. I don't think that by default there is a hotkey to toggle snapping. You have to come up here and press the button and hold Alt or hit F11 for snapping options. You can tear this off just like anything else, and then set whatever you want, grid, whatever. But I like to have a hotkey just to toggle that guy on and off. So how you do that is anything you activate in Modo. Let me just clear my command history so I can show you what I'm doing. Over here, underneath your item properties, which is basically your attribute editor / channel box, okay, there's a command line to where you run Python commands, okay, but if you drag this up, it expands your command history. This shows, you can drag to undo. This shows all the commands you've done. So let's do something that we want to map a key to. Let's turn on snapping. Boom, turn on snapping. It shows me that the command I just activated is enable snap active state, and when I click on that, it shows what the command is for that. Just to map it to a hotkey, just right-click the command and say map to key. Okay, you can see that I've already mapped it to X. You can change it to whatever you want. Same as in the form editor, it'll tell you what you're overwriting, and you can decide whether to do that or not. Okay, so anyways, X is what I've got. And it's just as easy as that. You just find what you want to map to, like extrude, and then you go to the thing right here, specifically the thing, okay? And you say map command to key, okay? And you just type it in there. So really easy to map hotkeys in Modo, okay? The command history. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way, okay? That hides down here. All right, so now that we've got our snapping hotkey, let me show you some more tools. Let's talk about the bevel tool. That's your bread and butter, okay? And as such, it's your bread and butter. It just so happens to be mapped to the B key for bevel, for bread and butter, okay? So that's there. You'll also find it, let's see, probably in the basic. Yeah, in the basic tab, see B, it shows you your hotkeys there. Probably in mesh edit, see there. Probably in polygon there. So you get the point. Bevel is everywhere. Bevel here. Now this isn't lit up, but I do want to mention if I drop the tool by hitting 2, that'll also drop the tool and select edge mode. If I select an edge ring and hit B, it does come up now, even though it's the same hotkey. Modo tools are implicit, meaning that whether I'm in polygon mode, vertex mode, edge mode, if the tool does the same thing, it's implied. Okay, so it's implied that I want to bevel that. All right, it's a separate thing, kind of, but really it's the same. So it just says, oh, you used bevel polygon on edges, but I know you want to bevel edges. So I'm just going to do the same thing, and I'm going to bevel edges. Okay, so that's really awesome. You can just see like how awesome that is. You don't have to be worrying about weird other like chamfer or something. It's just bevel. Bevel is your extrude tool, your main extrusion tool. Just as in Maya, we beat a bevel and we drag out, you get your offset here, okay, and you have other components in the tool properties here that you can ungroup polys, all that kind of behavior you're going to find over here, okay. So super awesome. Now here's another handy thing. If I want to bevel this again, I don't have to drop the tool and then hit B again to reactivate the tool. All I have to do is shift click in the viewport, and we get another bevel. Okay, shift click. Okay. Whoops, a little bit much there. Okay, shift click. You get the point. And all tools work that way. Okay, you shift click, it just reactivates that tool without dropping it. Okay, so handy stuff there. All right. So that's your bevel tool. That's a few things about tools. All right. Let's talk about the thicken tool. That's really good. I'm not going to bother showing that to you. I would use thicken. It's in the basic tab. It is there. It was hiding thicken. It's good if you have shells. You'll also find it in the polygon tab. Thicken. That's good. That's your shell tool, right? So if you have like some polys, if I tear these guys off, Control V, Control C, Control V to paste, and then like I want to thicken it, it's your shell modifier, right? I said I wasn't going to show it to you, and then I showed it to you. How about that? That one's on the house. All right, so thicken tool. Now you also have an extrude tool. So I showed you bevel, right? Bevel is your main extrusion tool. Goes in a normals direction. Well, here's a better way to show you. Let me pull off these polys, Control C, Control V. Let's bevel them. Gives you kind of a similar result as thicken, but there's no backside. If I undo a couple times, and then I go to the mesh edit, extrude, which I've mapped to Shift X. Now what happens is it activates the tool, but you get it in a world axes. You don't get by normal axes. And in addition to that, it has given me back faces. So that's handy to know. Now we'll talk about this in a bit. If you don't want it to do the world axes, you want to extrude, get those back faces, and go in a very specific direction. Okay? You can do that. You use an action center. So say action center selection to get the normal axis, the average normal of that selection. Then you can activate your extrude tool, and that axis will stay the same. Okay. And we'll talk about action centers in a short bit. All right. So moving on, let's talk about spiky. We can do it to this poly here. So see this n-gon I've got here? Better yet, let's do this. Let's make a cylinder. Just grab a cylinder control to draw that guy out. Something I didn't mention earlier in Modo is that you can, in your cylinder tool, shoot, that was by habit I just dropped the tool because I was done with it, but I'm not done with it. So we're going to leave the tool active, and over here you can see in my cylinder that I can say how to cap each side of the cylinder. All right, so I can either cap by single poly, none, or quad grid. Quad grid is good if you're making cubic style meshes for Mesh Fusion, which is amazing. I'll probably make another tutorial for Mesh Fusion, but for now, just know that you can choose that. Okay, now if you want the fan style cylinder cap that you get in Maya, my recommendation is just to tell it to cap with single poly, and then when you drop the tool, select that polygon, go to polygon, spiky, okay, and then you click in the viewport to activate all tools in Modo, okay, and spiky will make that for you. Now, if you don't have a cap and you need that, go ahead and select the edge loop and go to edge, go to extend, okay. You don't extrude edges in Modo, you extend edges. Okay, you don't bevel edges. Well, bevel edges will, chamfer or bevel the edge, but you extend them. Okay. Now you can do this. We'll go back to when I selected this edge loop, extend, and then you can, under edge here, you can collapse. And that'll give you the result of spiky as well. Okay, now I'm going to put that n-gon back because I want to show you about auto activation. So I've already turned it on for a number of tools. That's why you haven't seen that yet. And if you're following, I apologize. Whenever you activate a tool in Modo, you have to click in the viewport to activate it. Okay, so when I activate spiky, nothing happens right away until I click in the viewport. Okay, if that's kind of obnoxious for a lot of tools, it has its uses. But let me show you how to make that not do that. Okay, if you run a tool, okay, first of all, go over here back to where your items properties are, go to lists, and now here in the center you've got your tool pipe. This is what's called the tool pipe. Okay, so this tells you what you have going, like what tool combination of tools you have going. I have no tools right now because I'm in just my selection mode. I have no symmetry, snapping, action centers, fall offs, no tools active. Let's go ahead and select that polygon. Let's activate the spiky tool. So now the spiky tool pops up in the tool pipe. Okay, I can right click on this and I can say auto activate. In addition to activating the tool, now let's go ahead and Q to drop the tool. Let's delete these edges again. And now let's run spiky again. And you'll see this time I don't have to click in the viewport, it just goes. And it doesn't drop the tool, it just automatically activates it without me having to do that extra click in the viewport. So that's really handy. Okay. Another note about the tool pipe while we're here is, let's say I activate the bevel tool, which auto activates, see here, because I've already told it to. It remembers that. Okay. Let's say I need a special bevel tool. I'm like, oh yeah, let's see. I need a weird bevel tool. Let's make a weird one. Let's say action center. We'll talk about these later, but let's go to element. Let me align it to that element right there, and that's what I want. Okay. All that stuff pops up here. Okay. It's all going to pop up here. And that wasn't a very good example of it, but you see what I'm getting at. I can add a fall off. Put my linear fall off, all that stuff comes up. If I say, okay, this is a custom tool that I want to create and I want to save it, you can click and you can say save preset, and you can call it whatever you want. Okay, and then that'll pop up in presets. You can map it to a hotkey. You can make custom tools in Modo in this way. So this is modular. The tool pipe is modular. So just know that. But auto activate was the main point of that whole rant, and you'll find that in the tool pipe when you activate any tool. Well, like let's say like one you actually need to click in the viewport for. You just right click, auto activate, okay. So, and you'll see that select through is also there, but in a couple releases ago they moved that up to its own thing up here. So it's easier to get to, but auto activate is there, okay. Super useful. Let's just delete that cylinder. Let's talk about cutting geometry. So in Modo, actually in Maya, the Maya multi-cut tool is the best in the business. Okay, it can do it all. It can add loops. It can preserve curvature. It can cut across polys. It can 90-degree angle constrain polys. It can do all of that stuff. You don't have a one-stop shop in Modo. You have two tools that do all of those things in Modo. And those tools you'll probably find under Edge. Actually, let's look under Mesh Edit first and talk about the Edge Slice tool. It is by default mapped to C. Hit C. Let's go to Edge mode first. Let's hit C, and now let's begin cutting. You can cut, if you have multi-slice active, you can cut across polys. If that's unchecked, you cannot. Okay. So see how it goes away? Because the tool is active, so any changes I make here still respect this activation of the tool. If you have inside polygons checked, you can cut inside polys, and likewise, you can't. Well, that one doesn't know what to do because it's already there. But anyways, you get my drift. Okay. So that's Edge Slice. Q to drop the tool, Control Z will undo. So that's your cut tool. Now, to add loops, you can't do it inside the cut tool, unfortunately, but there is something called add loop. Okay, I've got that on Shift C. You can put that on whatever you like. Shift C adds loop. Click and drag on an edge to add an edge loop. If I go on this edge loop, Shift C, and drag, I can say preserve curvature. Okay, and give it tension. Okay, whatever you want. Right, 100% is typically what you want. You can even split it. You can have it split your mesh, and you can say offset it by 1 centimeter and cap it. That's a little bit much for it to cap. If this were just a cylinder, it would cap all that for you. But anyways, good stuff to know. Okay. So your add loop tool has all these really fun features for you. Okay. Let's go ahead and select that edge loop and get rid of it. So those two tools combine to make your multi-cut tool. Now, there's also loop slice. Now that's your connect tool. Right? So if I select an edge and I go to mesh edit again, because you're editing like kind of the topology of the mesh. You're not just doing like an edge operation, I guess is their logic for it. Anyways, I think Alt-C is the default command. Alt-C to loop slice. While the tool's up, you can change your number of count. You can change that. You can say, let's go to 2, and let's change the mode instead of uniform. Uniform constrains these. Okay, I can't drag on those. If I say free, I can drag these to wherever I want. Okay, I can select this guy and just drag in the viewport too, or you can drag up here, or you can even type down lower. I'm pretty sure it's down here somewhere. Yeah, it's right there. Okay. Now, if you're like, I messed that up, I want to keep it in free mode, but I want them to be uniform, click uniform. If I want to move them symmetrically, change this mode to symmetry. That's the third mode, and then you can just drag in the viewport. They'll be symmetrical. You can just increase your count and so forth, and they'll if it breaks, hit uniform and it'll fix that for you. Okay, so symmetry works best with just 2, but anyways, you get the point. So anyways, that's your loop slice tool. All right, you just select an edge, loop slice, do what you need to do, and drop the tool, and preserve curvature as well. This option exists here. It can also split and cap as well. Okay. All right, so those are your cut tools and loop adding tools. All right. A couple other quick tools that I use a lot. If you can always let's go to vertex mode. You can always cut C to cut here, or you can undo that. Select a vertex, select another vertex. It's actually under polygon for some reason, and it's split. Okay, that splits polys. I wonder if I probably just splits it. No, it doesn't know what to do with that. I don't know why it's under poly, but anyway, that's split. Okay, if you just want to connect from one vert to another. Now I have that on my radial. Okay, so if you select those verts, go to vertex tools. I called it connect. I know that's confusing, but it makes more sense to me that it's connecting vertices. All right, so that's splitting polys. I already talked to you about extending. So if I delete these polys, I want to extrude these edges out. I double click and I Z to extend. Okay, and again, shift click extend again, scale, whatever you got to do. Okay, let's move that guy back. We're actually kind of making something here. I don't know what we're making, but we got something. And also good to know, if we're done with this, and I'm like, I want to cap this, double click this border here to select that edge border. There's no fill hole, there's P for polygon, okay? P will fill for polygon. All right, so good to know, P for polygon. If I want to flip the normal of that face, F for flip. Now the face has been flipped. Okay, it's still there, it's just you can't see it because we have, we have backface culling going on. So let's undo. But see how it's selected? F for flip. Flip it again. And that reverses the normal of your face. Okay. Let's show you the bridge tool, which I was talking about earlier. Let me give this a few subdivisions. We'll bring up loop slice. We'll increase our count. We're going to say uniform. Let's call it good there. Okay. Let me delete some polys. Actually, let's Shift C and then hold Control. I forgot to mention when you have your loop tool, add loop. If I if I just click and drag on an edge, you get this, and you can type in what you want, or you can hold Control and click, and it will constrain. No matter where I click, it's going to drop that at 50%. Most things, like I said earlier, that are Shift in Maya are actually Control in Modo. So just remember that. Now, if I remember how we Shift click in the viewport to do it again, if I Control Shift click, it leaves that edge, reactivates the tool, and drops a new loop at the center of where I just was. So Control Shift. Okay. All right. So now we've got some stuff to play with here. Let's delete a few polygons, and I'm going to go ahead and go into my viewport options, and we're going to go to visibility, and we're going to turn the grid off right now. Okay, just to get it out of the way. It's kind of getting in the way here. So we can go here. Shift G, select between, delete to delete, okay, or backspace. Now I could select that guy and hit P for polygon, and then I could sit there and do this with the C key, or I could just go back, select these edges, okay, get rid of these guys, we don't need them. It'll probably still work, but let's activate the bridge tool. Okay, Modo has a very smart bridge tool. If I click on that guy, it just fills all of that if the auto connection checkbox is turned on. Now, if you get some strange behavior in any tool, look to your checkboxes, okay? Check your modes, okay? Linear, in this case, it doesn't matter because we're not bridging any kind of curved thing or, bridging by a spline or something. But auto connection will resolve that for me. See, if I turn it off, it gets rid of that connecting edge. Handy to do. Okay, now notice I have select through on for the bridge tool, and the reason why, let me do this. Let's say we were just doing this old school and doing it manually, and we go to edge mode. I want to turn the bridge tool, I want to select these guys and bridge them. So let's click the bridge tool. Well, I don't want to have to drop the tool to do to keep going, right? So instead, I leave the tool active, and I just click to select, shift click to grab that one, click to select, shift click for that. Okay, so you can see there that select through definitely has its uses. Okay, let's go ahead and delete these polys. Let's delete that poly too, just to fix our geometry here. Let's select the whole thing. Let's click bridge. It didn't like that, so let's get rid of these guys and click bridge. Okay, with auto connection on, it's going to fix that for me. All right, handy stuff. All right, bridge tool is good. We talked about collapsing edges earlier. That is just what it is, what it sounds like. If we let's hit Z to extend, and then go to edge, collapse. It collapses to the center. Okay. This is a good one too. Let's talk about. Let's say I have a cut from here to here. Spin edge. Okay, under edge, spin. It just reorients the direction of that edge. Okay, it's a handy modeling function. And let's talk about joining vertices now. Fun stuff. So let's go to vertex mode. If I want to join, I'm going to make a vertex selection, okay? And I want to join them to that guy. The last vertex that I select under the vertex tab is what they will all go to when I hit join. Now you get a pop-up here, okay? Whether do you want to do it average? I would say no to that because there's a join averaged. Keep one vertex polygons, no. just join to that last vertex that I selected, okay? If you want to circumvent that pop-up, just to remind you, this is the last one I selected. Use my radial menu, Vertex Tools, Join. I've already set it up so that it just has those settings. So it'll go to the last vertex that you select, okay? Now, if you want all these to be in, let's right-click, lasso. It's kind of ugly. I'm doing that. Go to Vertex Tools, or over here, and join average, and now they all collapse to an average of all of them, okay? Handy stuff. Let's say I join these guys to this guy. Join. Now I join these guys and I want them to go to that guy. Repeat last command is Control R. Okay. Control R will repeat the last command fired. Okay. Control R. Okay. That goes for all modeling commands and tools. Now let's talk about one more way to weld things. Go to Vertex. Your drag weld tool is your target weld. Okay. Now this can behave strangely sometimes, and this is a good opportunity to show you. If you see some weird stuff like this in Modo with faces that just disappear, something strange, go ahead and run under Mesh Edit, Mesh Cleanup. Okay. It will fix a laundry list of artifacts and strange things for you. Hit OK. It'll tell you what it fixed. It welds things. It does what you have set in the options there, and it will fix a lot of that kind of strangeness. Okay. Now, if you don't want to see those pop-ups, I've got everything turned on, and I have Mesh Cleanup right here in the radial menu. So you just hit it. It'll tell you what it cleans, or what it cleaned up. In this case, there's nothing to clean, so it tells you that. Okay. So anyways, that's in my radial there, Mesh Cleanup. You're going to use that a lot. Okay. So let's see, Mesh Cleanup, we talked about flipping and making polygons. So let's go ahead and wrap this video up. And then in the next one, we're going to talk about sub-Ds. It'll be a short video. I'm going to just show you how to sub-D items and talk about the difference and where to set levels and things like that in the next video.